Now, the flavor of the day may be the victory of RRR in the Oscars, but in the political circuit, in India, there is a very different sort of RRR which is going on. Rahul, remarks and ruckus. In Parliament, we saw that Rahul Gandhi's remarks in London that he made have created a ruckus in Parliament because the second part of the budget session started. Now you see, the thing is that usually what happens is that the opposition is accused of creating this ruckus. But today, it were the treasury benches that created the ruckus. What exactly happened? What is this story all about? Let's take a look.
भारत के सदन का अपमान किया,
भारत को बदनाम करने की कोशिश की है।
यहाँ पर नहीं चल रही थी, पूरे देश
A slugfest over a speech. Rahul Gandhi's remarks on Indian democracy in London brought both houses of parliament down on the first day of the second leg of the budget session.
आपसे एक निवेदन करना चाहता हूँ।
This a day after Prime Minister Modi launched a direct attack on Rahul Gandhi.
भारत के 130 करोड़ जागरूक नागरिकों का अपमान कर रहे हैं।
Team Modi went after the Congress MP in full force, with top ministers leading the charge, demanding an apology from Rahul Gandhi.
राहुल गांधी ने लंदन में जाकर भारत को बदनाम करने की कोशिश की है और कहा है कि भारत में लोकतांत्रिक व्यवस्था पूरी तरह से तहस-नहस हो रही है और विदेशी ताकतों को आकर यहाँ पर भारत के लोकतंत्र को बचाना चाहिए कि भारत की गरिमा पर, भारत की प्रतिष्ठा पर उन्होंने गहरी चोट पहुंचाने की कोशिश की है।
विपक्ष के नेता ने किस प्रकार से पूरे भारतवासियों के ऊपर चोट लगाई है, मैं समझता हूँ पूरे देश और हर भारतवासी का उन्होंने माफी मांगनी चाहिए।
The opposition accused the ruling party of running away from a debate and disrupting the house.
डेमोक्रेसी को जो नहीं है इस देश में, जो ये बार बार कह रहे हैं, यहाँ जो चल रहा है उस विषय के बारे में सारी दुनिया जानती है। अगर हमने कुछ कहा कि डेमोक्रेसी यहाँ पर नहीं चल रही ठीक ढंग से, संविधान के अनुसार नहीं चल रही है।
Rahul Gandhi, who is currently in UK, is expected to return to India on Tuesday night and in Parliament from Wednesday. BJP members say that they will continue to raise the demand for an apology from Rahul Gandhi in Parliament, while opposition parties say that they will not settle for anything less than a JPC probe into Hindenburg report. With camera person Azam Siddiqui, this is Arvind Gunasekar for NDTV.
So battle lines drawn very clearly over Rahul's remarks which have created a ruckus. I have with me Mr Prakash Javadekar, BJP MP. Thank you very much, Mr Javadekar. Isn't this quite weird, Mr Javadekar? A weird situation where the treasury benches have been accused of creating a ruckus and they did not let the house function.
No, Sanket, this is not the correct description of what happened today. It was leader of the house, Piyush Goyal, started to speak after chairman gave him permission. And when he started speaking, the opposition started shouting slogans. They came near the well and they were disturbing the house. Disruption is their mantra right from the first second, and therefore they didn't allow him to speak. Still he spoke, but it was tried that it should not be heard by anybody. But this is what opposition did. We didn't start it. Then when others were speaking, we only raised the demand that Rahul Gandhi should apologize because he has defamed the country on foreign soils, and that too in Britain, which was ruling us for 200 years, and now we have overtaken them economically also, with we being the fifth largest economy. We have very good relations with Britain. We have very good relations with UK. But let us understand that what he did was unpardonable. You are telling total lies. You say the mics are not working, mics are shut when opposition speaks. I think he spoke for 50 minutes. And everybody saw without any proof. without any rules to be followed. He did everything wrong. Now that matter is under privilege. So this is how he reckless and irresponsible behavior of a Congress leader was definitely. Therefore, we demanded apology from the Congress benches and the Congress leader. That was the demand.
Mr. Javadekar, do you think the statement should not have been made abroad, because the Congress is criticizing the government and they're saying that what you are trying to do is you are equating statements made against the government as criticism of the country, whereas these two things are very different?
No, it is not about government criticism. You are telling complete lies. When the bike is shut off, when opposition is not allowed, only during emergency. They were apprehended, they were taken to jail, and they were not allowed to speak. There was no freedom of expression, there was no freedom of speech, there was no freedom of organization. That was 75 dark period for the, we fought against it. The issue here is that there is no situation like emergency, but you want to create an impression, a bad impression. And now we have seen how the BBC stands exposed. They showed a very baseless film despite the court's verdict. And now when there was one anchor who is a very good footballer, he criticized the United Kingdom government, they fired him. So if that is the whole agenda of all these toolkit owners and toolkit operators, then this is how they defame India, and therefore we want apology from Rahul Gandhi.
Mr. Javadekar, my final question. You see, the Congress has said that the Prime Minister himself on many occasions has said things abroad, which according to this very definition, according to this definition of yours, will be construed as anti-India. For instance, suggesting that we had a lost decade and stating that nothing has happened in the past 7 decades. So then how do you respond?
See, Prime Minister has never spoken like this, because in every of his speech from the Red Fort on 15th August, he always said, at least 3-4 times, I have heard that that every government in India has worked for the country, and every Prime Minister has tried its best to do the job, and therefore he has created the Prime Minister Museum, where all the Prime Ministers with their good work done is exhibited there. This requires a large heart, and this requires an open mind. That's what Modi ji has. And therefore, this Rahul cannot think even, because they don't think beyond their family. They think that country, India is their pocket borough, but it is not. People of this country are sovereign, and they elect and reject. So they have elected Modi ji and they have rejected Congress. That's the truth in this country.
All right, Mr. Javadekar, many thanks for joining us. Let me also introduce our other guest, Adil Singh Bopara, spokesperson of the Congress Party, Jaideep Mazumdar, associate editor of the Swaraj magazine, Javed Ansari is a senior journalist, along with Aarti Jairath, a senior journalist. Thank you very much. Adil Singh Bopara, I would like to give you a right to reply, because we just spoke to a BJP representative. What would you say to what Mr. Javadekar was saying in his defense? He says that it's not the treasury benches who are responsible for the showdown today in Parliament. He says the Prime Minister has not insulted India abroad.
Sanket, I do hope the Prime Minister was watching Mr. Javadekar, and I hope he accommodates him for his unabashed, though factually incorrect analysis and response. But be that as it may, the fact of the matter is that the government is trying to sidestep a JPC on the Adani issue. The BJP, and more particularly the top echelons of the Bharatiya Janata Party, have been caught endorsing, supporting, facilitating, aiding and abetting arguably the biggest and the most gigantic stock market scam of Asia. So all this is nothing but harakiri, and it is nothing but an attempt to evade accountability. Now, coming to more particularly the BJP's allegation, I have a few illustrations, and perhaps somebody from the BJP can respond. In 2015, Mr. Modi said this in Canada and Germany by saying that India was the land of scams. This is Mr. Modi in 2015 before the Canadian and the German diaspora. 15, Mr. Modi says in South Korea that earlier Indians were ashamed of calling themselves Indians. Now, isn't this defaming India? You can't have two sets of rules. You can't have one set of rules for Mr. Rahul Gandhi and another set of rules for Mr. Modi. So therefore, this further illustrates the hypocrisy of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Now, coming to the core issue, Sanket, we have no qualms in saying this. And we will say this from every podium, from every platform, that the Bharatiya Janata Party is demolishing democracy brick by brick in this country. They have captured almost every institution. They are attempting to control dissemination of information. And this is an antithesis to what India stood for.
Okay.
The downtrodden, the marginalized, the minorities are being victimized by the Bharatiya Janata Party. This is our consistent position. And by seeking accountability, let me be very clear, by seeking accountability from the government of the day, we don't become anti-nationals.
Okay.
If that is the Bharatiya Janata Party's understanding of patriotism, then I indeed pity them.
Okay, Javed Ansari, what is your assessment of the way things are happening? When was the last time you remembered where the treasury benches themselves were so agitated that they were also party to enforcing an early adjournment for the day?
Not too many instances that come to mind, but unprecedented has become passé now in the times that we live in. Having said that, I do believe as a matter of principle that one shouldn't wash dirty linen in public. But then this principle applies to everybody, to the Prime Minister, to ministers, to leaders of the opposition, and to everyone. As far as the merits of what Rahul Gandhi said, there is more than an element of truth to what Rahul has said. In fact, there is a lot more that can be said. And you know, the unmistakable impression that I get witnessing today's proceedings is that, you know, the government is shying away, doesn't want a debate. You know, they want to rake up what in my view is a non-issue. And even if you feel if you want us to believe that you really genuinely feel as strongly as about what Rahul Gandhi said, then have a debate it out. There is no point in drowning out opposition. There's no point in stymieing a debate. Have a debate on this, but also have a debate on the opposition's demands on a JPC, on the Adani issue.
Okay. All right. Aarti Jairath, do you feel that this is nothing but that you know what Javed Ansari seemed to be suggesting, or said very clearly, that here is a government which does not want a debate to go in a particular direction, or the agenda to be followed by what the opposition wants to mount as its agenda in Parliament. And thus, this is a counter narrative. Now, Rahul Gandhi presumably is going to be back in India and will rejoin the session from Wednesday onwards. And the battle lines are very clearly drawn. We have heard from the BJP who say that we will continue to ask for Rahul Gandhi's apology. Ms. Jairath, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay. So, Sanket, it's really, really sad. The scenes in Parliament today are really sad. Treasury benches holding up proceedings and, drawing these battle lines so starkly that when Rahul Gandhi returns on Wednesday, I mean, clearly Parliament is not going to function for the rest of the budget session because, the Treasury benches are demanding an apology from him. Now, you tell me, what is the point of Parliament? The point of Parliament is to debate issues that are of concern to people. And this is a budget session. You should be debating the budget. You should be debating so many other issues that are worrying at the top of the mind, top of the people's minds. But instead of which, the netas are just doing tutu meh on the floor of the house. I mean, honestly, Rahul Gandhi said something abroad. You know, I have my own views whether he should have said it or not said it. But he's already been slammed by the BJP for it again and again. No less than the Prime Minister has slammed him. Now, do we need to carry this issue further into Parliament and disrupt proceedings for the next 2 weeks, because you don't want to discuss other issues like a JPC on the Adani issue or, inflation or price rise or unemployment or so many issues that are troubling people? And it's particularly sad, Sanket, because today is a day when the world is celebrating India's talents, India's musical genius, India's filmmaking genius, and our netas are bringing this kind of shame on us, on our democracy, on the institution of Parliament by holding it up on really, I completely agree with Javed, on a non-issue.
Okay. Jaideep Majumdar, you see, under normal circumstances, we would have seen a Parliament session where the opposition would question the government, will raise slogans, will not let the house function, there will be adjournments, and then the government will come up with pie charts and graphs to suggest that, we could have done this much business, we have not done this much business, this has led to this many crore rupees of loss in running the functioning of the house. But should this rule not now apply to the treasury benches also? Now, who's wasting critical time and crucial time and money?
From what I saw of the proceedings, one thing is very clear, but that the opposition, the treasury benches, they demanded an apology. They said they condemned what Rahul Gandhi has said in London, and there was obviously and understandably an uproar from the opposition benches, and that led to a huge ruckus in Parliament as to whether this issue should have been raised at all on the floor of the Parliament is something that I will not go into. But as far as what Rahul Gandhi had said, like his allegations of suspension of democracy, throttling of democracy, voices of dissent in India, that has to be backed by examples and evidence. To be fair to him, he did provide one example, that is the mics of opposition and he's being turned off. It turns out that this allegation is completely false. Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha records, which are in public domain, they do not corroborate that. Now, he has gone and said a lot of things like it's up to him. As someone reminded him, like Mrs. Gandhi hadn't done that in the past. Like even after when she was asked about her experiences in jail during the Janata Party regime, she said she refused to talk about that. But this reminds me, his allegation about switching off the mics of opposition, which is false. This reminds me about his father, whom he invokes always. His father's time, the infamous shouting brigade of Rajiv Gandhi. Any opposition member coming up with any allegation of criticism against the government, the entire shouting brigade of Rajiv Gandhi would shout down the opposition, disallow them from speaking. That is called throttling of opposition voices.
Yes, Mr. Javed Ansari, I'll come to you. But you see, Mr. Majumdar, it's not just about switching off of the mic. That issue has been highlighted by the government. We have seen everyone has spoken about it. I think there are a number of things that are being spoken here, Javed Ansari. For instance, you make a speech and then we can debate the relevance of expunging of remarks because the whole world has already heard what has been said. But then in the records of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, when a statement or certain remarks are expunged, that means they are not part of any record eventually. And these are the various things that have been highlighted by the opposition. Yes, we may say whatever we may want to and then it's expunged.
Yes, one expunging records was relevant at a time when Aarti and myself were doing journalism, when it was mostly print journalism. Because you still had time, the papers would come out next day and by the evening you'd get an advisory, so you couldn't print it. But in television it reaches every home. But you made a relevant point that it's not a part of official records. And just do a rain check about the number of speeches that have been, who are the people whose speeches have been expunged? there is not one member from the ruling party or the ruling coalition, leave alone a ruling party. And Mr. Majumdar was talking of Rajiv Gandhi's time. Let me tell you that the Bofor's debates, Bofor has been debated the maximum number of times in Indian Parliament. No other issue has been debated as many times. Aarti will be able to tell us better, because Aarti's, has covered that far more extensively, and she's so much my senior. So there are a lot of things. I wish, Sanket, you had pulled out from your records and just played out the speeches that the Honorable Prime Minister gave while in China, while in Canada, while in Germany, while in South Korea, and perhaps then it would be clear on who's on the right.
Let me ask this question, Mr. Majumdar. The point that Mr. Ansari is making, the Prime Minister's speech in Canada, where he said that this is a land of scams. See, I do not have the tapes right now, so I don't know the exact text of what he has said. I'm only borrowing from what Adil Singh Boprai suggested in this broadcast. And then, of course, the speech in South Korea. We've seen enough articles on this through the day, where he says Indians were ashamed to be called Indians. कि क्या हमारी किस्मत है, हम यहाँ पैदा हो गए. Now, does this fall in the definition of insulting India?
I will agree with Mr. Ansari when he says that dirty linen should not be washed in public. Whoever it be the Prime Minister, any minister, leader of opposition, or anyone, should not talk about India's internal issues in public in any foreign country. That's it. Period. That's about me.
Okay, Aarti, do you feel that going forward we are going to see, at least for the next 2, 3 or I don't know, maybe
several days, I think.
Several days, where the treasury benches are going to hold up the parliament?
Absolutely, and it suits the government, because then they can evade discussions on all these other sensitive issues that the opposition has been trying to raise. It suits the government, and that is why the treasury benches are raising this issue. I mean, is this an issue to bring to Parliament, honestly? Demanding an apology from Rahul Gandhi because he said something abroad. Firstly, Rahul Gandhi does not even hold a position in the Congress. He's just an MP. So should Parliament be debating what Rahul Gandhi said abroad? It's been debated enough, yeah. We need to move on.
Okay, here's a proposal.
People in the country.
Here's a proposition.
What the Parliament Forum is all about.
Adil Singh Boprai, here is an interesting proposition. What if, for argument's sake, what does the government want? An apology. Mr. Gandhi comes, he says, okay, fine, you didn't like it, I'm sorry. Now let's debate the issues that the opposition wants to raise. It'll be a win-win situation for you.
It will never be debated. Take it from me. I will bet my last penny, and I don't have too much of money, but I can bet my last penny. They will never, ever debate this.
Sanket, just to take cue from what Ansari Sahab has said, this government wants to stonewall and obfuscate any democratic process. We are going into an election. This is going to get worse. The polarization is likely to get worse. The hate rhetoric from the Bharatiya Janata Party is likely to get worse, because this is how they operate. This is their modus operandi. And as far as Mr. Gandhi's comments are concerned, we stand by those comments. We sincerely believe what Mr. Gandhi said is a correct assessment of the state of affairs in this country. Democracy is degenerating. The BJP is indeed denigrating and attempting to emasculate institutions in this country. We have no doubt about that. So why should we apologize? On the contrary, price rise. A gas cylinder today costs 1150 rupees even for Mr. Majumdar. Is he perturbed? He pays 100 rupees per litre for petrol. Is he perturbed? And these were the same Bharatiya Janata Party and the acolytes who used to be shouting from the rooftops.
Okay, Mr. Majumdar, quick right to reply. I'm running out of time, but Mr. Majumdar has raised his finger.
Yeah, I'm paying for the sins of the Congress. All the oil bonds and all which they have come up with. We Indians are paying for the sins of the Congress.
Okay. I'm not going to start a debate on oil bonds because I've run out of time. But we'll talk about this at an appropriate moment when we have more time, and this is not a short duration discussion as in Parliament.
Because the BJP will not
let us running out of time. Thank you very much, Mr. Adil Singh Boprai, Jaideep Majumdar, Javed Ansari, as well as Aarti.